Alrighty, so why are people who experience homelessness at higher risk during a pandemic?
Well, the risk during a pandemic is really because of increased vulnerability related to lack of adequate housing options. And you can think about what happened over this sort of early in the pandemic. Um, we saw this across the country really, where people shelters had to introduce physical distancing. um, we had a situation where they had to reduce their numbers in order to meet some of those guidelines. So that was kind of the first thing, that we saw happening. And as a consequence, there were a lot of people who were relying on shelters or who might have been couch surfing, um, that no longer had a place to go, combined with individuals who were already outside and living outside. And so then we had increased risk of vulnerability for people because they couldn't implement basic measures that are necessary in an infectious disease pandemic such as COVID. For example, where do you wash your hands? When you don't have many of the drop-ins weren't allowing people to even access their bathroom facilities, or their obviously people couldn't wash hands. We communities, I think, had situations where water was turned off to public spaces. um, and in addition, you've got this order that says stay at home. Well, where do you stay at home? And Victoria, where I live, was a bit unique in that there was a decision made uh, as a result of the public health officer to allow people to shelter 24/7 in tents, as a way of offering a sort of measure to stay at home. But then we had situations where people didn't have access to water, they didn't have access to food, and that really created a high level of vulnerability that's always been there, but it just really brought it to the surface and made it so visible in terms of the kind of um, basic determinants that people who were homeless simply didn't have access to, at the same time that we had people who in their houses were going, oh, this is a great time for me to learn to bake bread. And that's the kind of contrast that we were living in. And having the privilege, being able to stay at home was a privilege, um, in that kind of scenario.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.